If the fish swam out of the ocean and grew legs and they started walking, and the apes climbed down from the trees and grew tall and they started talking, and the stars fell out of the sky, and my tears rolled into the ocean, and now I'm looking for a reason why. You even set my world into motion. If you're not really here, then the stars, they don't even matter. Now I'm filled to the top with fear that it's all just a bunch of matter. If you're not really there, I don't wanna be either. I wanna get next to you. Black and gold, black and gold, black and gold. Into the night sky, I see 1,000 eyes staring back, and all around these golden beacons, most of my life isn't real. If you're not really here, then the stars, they don't even matter. Now I'm filled to the top with fear that we're all just a bunch of matter.
The word verbatim, in simple terms, means to repeat something exactly how it was said or written, without any changes at all. Word for word, sound for sound, gesture for gesture. This includes any ums, pauses, breaths in the way. It's a copy and paste. As a class this semester, we had the opportunity to work weekly with Ryan Howland from the NYU Verbatim Lab, who helped us in the process of creating this piece. The whole development of finding out the topic, interviewing participants, and then creating the script, well, it's quite an interesting process that many of us had not heard of before. Our classes came up with a general research question that each class wanted their verbatim piece to focus on, and then each student found one random person that related to the topic to interview using a series of questions. These interviews combined together have accumulated in the final piece that you'll see tonight. Though the person's word that we interviewed didn't change, our class is using a method often featured in this type of theater called playing through cross-identities, where a person's words could be played by an actor of a different race, age, or sex. These mini plays you'll see tonight have been completely written using real words from real people based on real topics.
Well, I'm a professor, and in my free time, I'm a priestess of Aphrodite. I would say my identity is eclectic. I identify as Latina, but my ancestors come from all over, so yeah, I would say my identity is eclectic.
Middle-aged white woman, mental health therapist. So I'm a powerful 53-year young woman who's strong, independent, kind, loving heart, beautiful soul, always willing to help. Shall I continue?
I'm a 48-year-old white woman, and I work in women's health.
I am a black woman. I could easily identify as African American. I'm a mother. I call myself #boymom. I'm a millennial, geriatric millennial. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. friend, accountability partner.
I would say professional, but empathetic. Now I start thinking of my family, and I definitely think empathetic. I'm kind, but I'm a fighter.
I'm an actress, singer, copy editor, and writer.
Jewish woman, white artist. Yeah, I guess I would say that I'm a very big consumer.
I think it plays a huge role.
Murray.
Absolutely. When I was a child, I would come back from school and I would watch MTV all afternoon. Like, that was the only thing I did. And I used to say MTV raised me because that was, like, what I would watch all the time. Nowadays, I don't watch TV at all, but yeah, when I was a child, it definitely shaped me. I remember, for example, when I was a teen, I wanted to be a rock star because, of course. So, yeah, it definitely shaped me. The way I was seeing rock stars and the fact that none of them looked like me, I was thinking, oh my God, I could never be a rock star. I could never be part of the music industry, the rock music industry, because none of them looked like me. Of course, now I have a different way of thinking, but at the time, there were absolutely no Latinas, and I don't even think there was like black people in rock music at the time at all, and especially not women. But now I see I have a different way of thinking, and I think, oh, I'm different, and that's nice, and that attracts people. The fact that I'm different, the fact that I'm, I hate the term, but exotic. So, yeah, but at the time it was definitely hard for me to see the fact that what I wanted to do, no one was like me. No one was like me. There was no one I could look up to and say, oh, this person made it, oh, this person looks like me. So it was I definitely lacked that part of representation in media when I was younger, and that was very difficult for me.
I'm not sure if it's a stereotype, but yeah,
Michelle.
probably. That we have rhythm and that we can move and
Well, there's actually this stereotype about Latinas. We are often portrayed and perceived as, like, bombshells or some sort of sex goddess and everything.
We like to dance, we like to celebrate, we like to eat what we love, which is pretty much in every ethnicity, but more so for the Latin music.
I feel we are often portrayed that way when in reality our culture is very traditional, very conservative. I feel, yeah.
I think being an actress alone has its own stereotype.
Vanessa.
Narcissistic, unstable, starving artist.
Because I am Latino, so I think I've seen with the dance and the music and the rhythm of the Latin heritage.
I feel like we're often portrayed that way when in reality that's just one part of our whole scope of identities. Of course, Latinas can be hot, they can be sexy, but anyone can be, I feel like we're often encased in that stereotype of Latinas. They're like, oh, Latinas are like Becky G or Carol G, that reggaeton stereotype, when in reality our culture is very traditional, very conservative, and that's something that not many people, like not many foreigners, know about. Latin culture is very, very traditional.
So I had a friend that would go, oh, this is Vanessa, she's my friend, she's an actress, and she's a starving artist. And I'd be like, dude, I'm making 6 figures, shut up, Like I was at the time. But it wasn't really worth it because it wasn't a fun job. But I think the stereotype of actors being flaky and there is truth, there is narcissism, there is, me. And I think that I'm not flaky, I'm a very straightforward person. I speak my mind. I don't badmouth and go, oh, did you see that show of hers? She sucked. And I think I live in a very toxic industry, being in the entertainment industry, and I try to distance myself from that. So, yeah, I think the stereotype of actresses is like, oh, they don't take you seriously, or that's not a real job, get health insurance and stuff. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's definitely something that rings true.
Okay, so I grew up in the 70s. Becky, pretty much. My youth was spent in the 70s. And I grew in Alba, Pennsylvania is a very rural, it's not even a town, it's a borough. We were like bused to go to our local school. It's like a 45-minute ride. So my only exposure to media then was television, movies, magazines. Teen Beat was great. So I'm thinking of what I was exposed to back then, and I pretty much saw everybody like me on those platforms. They looked like me, and growing up in a very rural area, it was only white people, only Caucasians, so I never had any real exposure to any different cultures. So that's what I saw and what I got from the screen, pretty much. But there's a twist on this, is that my take on who I was that I was a white female, but we were very poor. My family was very, very poor. We were on welfare. My mother worked. My father did not work. And what I took from the media was that I was a female who had no power. And that because I was poor, I meant nothing. So we were called hicks. We were called rednecks, and that's how I thought of myself. And I thought that the only chance that I had to get out of that because of watching media was if I fought hard and I left the town, or not even the town, the borough that I came from, and essentially, just getting out of small town USA. So that's my earliest memories of what media meant to me.
So my son, once acknowledged
I don't have
Spider-Man, knew he
children,
had existed, but ever since Spider-Man, he's become Miles Morales. I can tell you how it's impacted my household and my targets. Jen.
I'm not in a profession where I work with kids, but I do often ask friends that have kids of all ages.
My son is 5, but now, he wants me to call him Miles Morales. He wants to take Spanish with me. He wants to walk around the house with this all-black Spider-Man gear, even if it's just going to the grocery store.
I see a lot of kids, on their phones, and maybe they're around each other and they're not connecting. This is just like what I observed. They're not connecting.
He wants to watch Spider-Man on a repeat, and it's because he saw a Spider-Man that looks like him.
Because I think there's just more pressure for kids today, and I guess, I'm always, because I focus a lot, in women's health, it's just something that I think about a lot. Going back to what I was saying before about certain body types or fashion, right? I just feel like it's hitting kids at a younger age now. Yeah, I think it's detrimental, but I can't totally speak to because it's something that I'm aware of, but haven't gone in depth, but I just feel like it must affect, kids and teens and even, young adults.
A Spider-Man that looks like him. I think it was amazing how it shifted once he saw himself within the Spider-Man character, and so that's how I see it impacting kids. I mentioned Gabrielle Union in Bring It On, and I kind of fell in love with her, completely obsessed to this day. But watching her and seeing her characters evolve, I often saw her as the main role, right? But she was also the career woman in a lot of her movies. She was also, the woman with no kids, focused on the career, very witty and quick, not quick-tempered, but quick to, come back at someone. And I noticed I started to model that. And so to me, I had to climb the corporate ladder, not focus on a family, focus on getting to the top and emulating some of her gestures and her wordplay and articulations.
I want to say, maybe as a woman, stereotype, climbing the corporate ladder perhaps, and having to really prove myself harder than I guess the average man would. Being petite as well, I feel like I have to push myself further in too, because yes, I am pretty petite, but I'm a large woman in the way I present myself. So I feel like
in those two aspects, I have to push harder being a woman, although we've come so far.
When I decided to get married and have a child, it completely shattered my idea of what success was because, again, I grew up watching people in the media that looked like me portrayed in a certain way. And in general, it didn't really show women kind of having both, the family life and the career life. It was either one or the other.
These days, woman to man. But in those two aspects, I feel like I'm still having to be conscious of my actions when I'm in a certain situation where I have to really be seen, and I'm aware of that, so it's not a problem for me.
But I really think it helped model my idea of what success was. But then I had to completely shatter that thing and create a completely new one for the life that I live today. And so I hope I answered your question.
I mean, I think, like, again, I identify as female. I work supporting women about their hormonal health. So, like, I think a lot about how, just in general, like, I would say, like, the media has been very challenging for, you know, females.
Yeah, I definitely feel represented being like a Jewish woman. I definitely feel like there's some like really strong female Jewish actresses that are in a lot of stuff.
Catherine.
And actually, I was just in Florida and showed a friend a picture. It was this woman that was, I don't know, like, whatever, like Miss USA or Miss Florida or something. And I said, wow, like, look, that person, like, actually looks like a real person, like, in terms of their body type. Like, it just was, I think for, especially just people in my generation.
A show I really like is Broad City, and I actually played Alana for Halloween before, or I was Alana. I'm such a theater person, I played her. And it was definitely fun. Like, I felt like it was cool to just see a female character that she was sort of extra. She's like a little much, like she's just like very much herself. And she's like very like outgoing and silly.
The messages of the media was, you know, you have to have a certain body type, and I feel like a lot of that is really shifting over the last 2 years.
And I just like in that show that it felt very truthful to what women are. Like, they can have all these sort of, they can have a sense of humor, and they can like be close friends with someone, and they can also be really bad at their job, and it's like all of these different complicated aspects to make up who they are.
So that's
that was,
something
like,
I'm
exciting
appreciative
to
of.
me.
It gives me a lot of hope.
Wendy.
You know I'm angry. I'm very angry.
I just felt shame within myself, and I learned from that.
Well, start from the bottom. Get writers and performers that are those identities to inform what gets created. And that's happening, so more of that.
I have a huge issue with the anti-Semitism, you know. It really hurts.
I hold hope that we're evolving, like humanity is evolving.
One time where I was walking down the street and in the Upper West Side, and this guy started yelling, "Ya effing Jew, ya effing Jew, the nose, the nose." And I have a huge issue with the stereotype of Jewish people being seen as, you know, miserly, like how in The Merchant of Venice, how Shylock is looked at as a miser.
Humanity is evolving, and that the performing arts have a lot to do with that, you know?
I just didn't know who I was. And according to what I thought of who I was, this poor little white kid, now I didn't even know like what I was or who I was, who these other people were. I had no clue. I just remember feeling scared, very, very, very scared going onto the playground because we all met on the playground. So I'm gonna fast forward to answer your question. So there's this little girl in front of me. Her name's Tina. I remember this so clearly. She was so different from me. So I was this skinny white kid with long, messy brown hair and blue eyes, and there's this girl in front of me, Tina, who was tall, black girl with fluffy black hair, and you know, she would turn around and smile at me and try to talk to me, and
I just remember just feeling so scared because I just didn't know anything except for what I knew in media, and what I was getting from media wasn't much, so I didn't really know about the black culture that much, and I didn't know that people were just like people, so I didn't really talk to her. I remember giving her short, curt answers.
This disturbs me a lot because, you know, growing up, I was one of the first Jewish people anybody ever met. Some people would say, oh, you're going to hell and you don't believe in Jesus.
We were just a block away from each other, so I started hanging at her house, and I made this comment about something I had seen previously in a show about a black family having some sort of, well, I don't really remember what it was, but it was this type of food, and I made this remark, not knowing any better, and her mom heard me and said, well, why did you say that? And I said, well, isn't that the way this is? And she said, let's have a talk. and she was so kind, and it could have gone so differently. So that was the first time I realized that there's stereotypes, and that I was living with this stereotype of what a family was, a black family. It was a stereotype. It was nothing like what I had imagined. They were a family just like us. They just did it maybe a little differently, but they were a family just like us.
Just that it gives me a lot of hope.
I'm tired of it, really. I just want to be like, really? Seriously? Back off. You know I'm angry. I'm very angry.
And I'm gonna start crying because I remember going home feeling weird, like I didn't, like, out of place, and I didn't know any better, but she was so kind to me. And, you know, reflecting on it as you get older, you're like, oh, what I was feeling was shame. And she didn't make me feel shame. I just felt shame within myself, and I learned from that.
Fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rainbows in my mind. When I think of you sometimes, I want to spend some time with you, just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us. Just the two of us, building castles in the sky. The two of us, you and I. We look for love, no time for tears. Wasted water's all that it is, and it don't make no flowers grow. Good things might come to those who wait, not for those who wait too late. We gotta go for all we know. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us, building big castles in the sky. Just the two of us, you and I.
Day after day, day after day, day after day, you're not away. Sky, love, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Sky, love, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a journeying over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane? And in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music in the night? Wonderful music, faint as a will-o'-the-wisp, crazy as a loon, sad as a gypsy serenade in the moon. Sky, love, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you lead me there? Ooh. Must take the A train. Go to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. If you miss the A train, find you miss the quickest way to Harlem. Hurry, get on board, it's coming. Listen to those wheels a thrumming. All aboard, get on that A train. Soon you'll be on Sugar Hill and Harlem. Must take the A train. Go to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. If you miss the A train, you find you missed the quickest way to Harlem. Oh, hurry, he's supposed to be mine. It's my party and I'll cry if I want to, cry if I want to, cry if I want to. You would cry too if it happened to you. Play all my records, keep dancing all night, but leave me alone for a while. Till Johnny's dancing with me, I've got no reason to smile. It's my party and I'll cry if I want to, cry if I want to, cry if I want to. You would cry too if it happened to Judy and Johnny just walked through the door like a queen with her king. Oh, what a birthday surprise! Judy's wearing his ring. It's my party and I'll cry if I want to, cry if I want to, cry if I want to. You would cry too if it happened to you. It's my party and I'll cry if I want to, cry if I want to, cry if I want to. You would cry too if it happened to you.
Lullaby of birthday, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never in my wordland could there be ways to reveal in a phrase how I feel. Have you ever heard two turtle doves, Bill and Coo, when they love? That's the kind of magic music will make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how I'll cry in my pillow if you should tell me farewell and goodbye. Lullaby of birthday, whisper low, kiss me sweet, and then we'll go flying high in birthday, high in the sky up above, just because we're in love. Da ba da 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 ba da dum da da ba da dum da da ba da dum da da ba 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 da 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 That's how I'll cry in my pillow if you should tell me farewell and goodbye. Lullaby a birthday and a whisper low, one more kiss and then we'll go flying high in birthday and high in the sky up above, because we're in love. walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes on. When she walks, she's like a samba, sways so cool and swings so gentle that when she passes, each one she passes goes on. Ooh, but I watch her so sadly. How can I tell her I love her? Yes, I would give my heart gladly. But each day that she walks through the sea, she looks straight ahead, not at me. Ba-ba-da-da-ba-ba-boo, ba-ba-da-da-ba-boom-bow, ba-ba-dum-da-ba-dum, bam-ba-dee-dee-dee-bow. Ay, porque estoy tan solo. Ay, porque me siento triste. Ay, la belleza que existe, belleza que no es solo mía, que ahora pasea solita. Oh vida mía, si supieras que cuando tú pasas, el mundo entero se llena de gracia con tu balanceo camino del mar.
sea. It lingered there to touch your hair and walk with me. All summer long we sang a song, strode the golden sand. Two sweethearts and the summer wind. Like painted kites, those days and nights, they went flying by. The world was new beneath the blue umbrella sky. And softer than a piper man, one day it called to you. I lost you to the summer wind. The autumn winds and the winter winds, they have come and gone. And still the days, those lonely days, they go on and on. And guess who sighs his lullabies through nights that never end? My fickle friend, the summer wind.
Look at me. I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree. And it feels like I'm clinging to a cloud. I can't understand. I get misty just holding your hand. Misty, walk my way, and 1,000 violins begin to play. Or it might be the sound of your hello, that music I hear. I get misty the moment you're near. Can't you see that you're leading me on? And it's just what I want you to do. Don't you
drift by the window. The autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long, and soon I'll hear old winter's song. But I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall. The falling leaves drift by the window. The autumn leaves, red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburnt hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long, and soon I'll hear old winter's song. But I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall.
Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is tall. Oh, your daddy's rich, and your mommy's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Summertime, And your mommy's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. And the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is torn. Oh, your daddy's rich, and your mommy's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry.
Verbatim theater is a form of documentary theater in which actors perform people's words strictly as they were originally delivered, word for word and gesture for gesture. As verbatim actors, our goal is to emulate the exact way that these people communicated their thoughts while incorporating all aspects from their physical gestures and movement to their vocal tonality, inflection, diction, and articulations. Some commercial examples of verbatim, or documentary theater, that you may be familiar with include A Chorus Line, Fires in the Mirror, and Working. In this class, we partnered with New York University's Verbatim Performance Lab to create our own pieces of verbatim performance. Over the past few months, we collaborated weekly with our resident artist, Ryan Howland, to devise, script, and block the pieces performed tonight. Included in that process was learning about casting across identities. Used often in verbatim performance, interviewed participants are often portrayed by actors of other races, ethnicities, genders, gender identities, ages, abilities, and/or orientations. This serves the purpose of enhancing an audience's awareness and understanding of the content of human response by enabling the actor to explore and empathize with the lived experience of another. In order to produce the work you will see tonight, we had to gather stories from real people. We did this individually through an interview process via Zoom, where we asked our interviewees a series of open-ended questions pertaining to our overarching research theme that we as a class decided upon. Their responses are being showcased tonight, scripted together to make up our cohesive small plays.
The rise of anti-trans bills in the U.S.
Record number of anti-LGBTQ legislation passed.
75 anti-LGBTQ titles targeted for
Record number of anti-LGBTQ legislation passed.
The rise of anti-trans bills in the U.S.
Record number of
LGBTQ titles targeted for censorship.
Record number of anti-LGBTQ legislation
What impact do you think queer representation has on children?
Queer representation can help kids have compassion for the disenfranchised in the world.
Zach.
I think it has two kinds of impacts. A good impact and a bad impact. Depends on where, the families, where they're coming from.
Woman teacher.
I've seen the way kids light up when they see a drag queen feel very similar to the way they light up when they see a Disney princess.
If a family feels negative about it, then they're gonna feel negative about it. And if a family feels positive, then it's the same thing. However, some kids may still hear that negativity at home and, and because of that, they could hide themselves even more. And that's where we get suicide a lot from. They can't. They know they can't. Family won't accept it.
I think the sooner that kids are exposed to this can be better, whether that's through a family member who identifies a certain way or something they see on a TV show that,
See, right now, it's not taught. And it's not taught because some parents are totally against it. Because they think already that it's being taught. Because we celebrate Gay Pride Day. Wearing the colors of the rainbow, we just accept it.
and just empowering them and protecting them via parents in the community to guide them towards.
Or we could expose kids little by little, introduce them to different scenarios. Perhaps gay kids can come in, and tell them their stories.
Things of good, whatever good means, and just letting them know that.
And, just let kids know.
Like, oh, things are an option. Because there are still pockets of the world where even though you can Google gay or take a quiz, you still might not believe it's possible for you.
It's okay to be who you are, and right now I think it's good where it is.
Okay. Z.
I think queer representation matters a whole lot more than people think. One thing, and I literally do this, I'm in a committee in school that helps find books that children relate to, because studies have shown that students' state test scores will increase by 40% if they're reading books that they're interested in or can find their identity in. And of course, typically when you think about that, oh my God, we have a statistic right on my phone, on my iPad. Sorry, I was just in a meeting about this. So typically when these types of studies are talked about, we really only examine like bilingual literature or stories of different races or multiculturalism. But for every one additional LGBTQ book educators added to their classroom libraries, students' reading assessment scores went up 23.5 points on average.
I'm just gonna preface this by saying I'm out at work. I'm out to my students and go by Mixed Democopoulos, or the MX. I run in a club called Queer and Questioning, where my students can talk to an adult who is not straight and is non-binary in both gender identity and sexuality.
I think representation for children in media, especially queer children, is 100% a good thing. However, Disney has had 12 first gay Disney character instances where they're trying to profit off of queer culture. And not a single one of those instances is the character obviously queer, unless you went into the movie knowing that. I mean, there's a couple ones where it's obvious, but you get the point.
I go to visit my parents and their friends, and I'm telling them this. And they're always like, why? But why? Does that matter? One time a conservative, and this is a direct quote, told me, why do you as a queer person feel the need to see yourself in movies or in the media when there are politicians that are gay?
I think it's a good thing for people to see themselves in media. But I hate it when corporations do it for their own benefit, and not just because it needs to happen, not just because it exists. Like, the gay kiss needed to be behind the main character so that your eyes would go to it in the wall of conversation and media tents. And also, like, you might have famous musicians and actors who might be queer.
Reminds me of when I go home and people are telling me, why do you feel the need to create? Why do you feel the need to be that person from your students? Aren't they a little young?
I think it's good to see, to just be able to see myself and for other people to be able to see themselves. But I hate that queer culture is a money game in media, not actually there for the right reasons.
That's difficult.
Preschool teacher.
Because while I understand I teach preschool, so I'm fully an ally and everything, I'm not going to walk into my classroom full of 2- and 3-year-olds and talk about sexuality and pronouns because they're just too young to understand it.
I've heard that, like, old people,
Julie.
sorry, older people, they think it's going to confuse them, us, and, like, gayify them.
We give them information on what they can handle at the moment.
But it could interest a lot of kids. And maybe they'll want to try it out, you know? Tell their friends to use certain pronouns for them, and they can always change their mind.
A diverse community should have literature on children with, children with same-sex parents or parents who use in vitro, but at an adult level when they're able to understand it.
But I don't think so. I feel like kids are confused all the time. I'm confused all the time.
So I have 4 students, I'm not gonna name their names, who all identify as transgender male. And I've been able to get them into the boys' gym class, the boys' music class, and the boys' bathroom with absolutely no repercussions at all. Like, it took a couple of conversations for it to reach this point, but it's led to a real sense of community amongst my students. And they'll really genuinely help each other out and stand up for each other.
The 3rd to 5th grade range, that's when you can start introducing it because that's generally where they start using things like that to talk about their bodies and stuff.
I've had students appropriately, respectfully, correct teachers on students' preferred names and pronouns. I've had students do that for my title. And it's done in a respectful way, and the teachers, and all the teachers are really open to it. They're like, yes, thank you for the correction, and then they move on. This is something that took 3 years for it to be done respectfully. But it's a real positive thing I've seen. It's just the level of respect around preferred names and pronouns.
But as a school, in a school setting, it should be taught as a part of curriculum that's not opinion-based.
Knowing something is an option won't convince them it's their only option for the rest of their lives.
So I think my definition of queer culture is...
Mona.
Wow, this is a fun idea. I actually don't know how to describe it. Just in general, the types of activities, media, art that queer people consume and produce. I think a lot of it surrounds things like pride and everything that's highlighted there. But things like ballroom culture, drag for sure, Even contemporary artists like Girl in Red, it's become kind of, like if you say, do you listen to Girl in Red? It's become a euphemism for, are you gay? So just things like that sort of nature surrounding society now, and back then, of course, I think generally fits into the description of queer culture. And even some slaying, like slay the house down boots, you know? It's become a part of it. It really has, so.
Well, I think as a student, like in school, if there were assemblies for everything, talk about everything, a balance. American holidays like Veterans Day and LGBTQ celebrations like Pride, if everyone's beliefs get talked about and, what's that word with a B? Validated. If everyone's beliefs get validated, then the people can learn, and this is cringe, but like people can grow together.
Culture changed a lot from when I was younger, but
Karen.
Definitely like conservatives, like
Hector.
I think conservatives often think that things that are queer are inherently sexual. And of course, that's important, one's relationship to desire, but being queer is so much more than that.
When I was younger, you'd be called where people would think that you don't just because you're a lesbian. You don't like things that girls like, so people may stereotype, but that doesn't necessarily fit who you are.
I think queer stereotypes of conservatives would probably be that they're all Bible-thumping evangelical monsters who condemn everyone to hell they meet, and that's true. It's entirely true. No, my parents are very loving and kind. They have these bigoted beliefs that they've been brainwashed with, but they learn to bite their tongue and just accept people.
definitely one big stereotype is that if you're gay, you don't play sports. And I've seen a lot of queer people play sports. I myself have played softball for years now.
I believe that as a lesbian or queer, everyone can have their own beliefs and views, and I think schools should just let everyone know that people are people and their sexuality doesn't define who they are.
So it's a curious question whether or not you need total acceptance to be loved by someone. Yeah, those are some of the stereotypes I've heard or encountered.
The queer community, or perspective, has definitely bothered conservatives because they say things like,
"Oh, queer people,"
or
"The rainbow represents queer people."
But in reality, it's a sign of God. Stuff like that has definitely been used against the community.
There are good people that are gay and there are bad people that are gay, and there are good people that are straight and there are bad people that are straight, so I do think we should just be accepting of individuals.
Conservatives frequently think that exposing people, especially teenagers or 18-year-olds, they seem to think that exposure to queer culture means grooming or some stupid stuff like that. They're relatively low-mind people that use that as sort of a way just to villainize queer culture so that they don't have to talk about it and sort of push it under the rug. But that's more the stereotypes, and that usually means that they don't want their kids to be exposed to things like that. They'll try and ban books. And I was actually in a bookstore recently, and I think it was in Berlin, I saw that a few queer books actually had age ratings on them. And on a particular cup, it was actually Heartstopper, Volume 1 of Heartstopper in Russian. And on the cover, it had this big sticker that said, "This is only accessible for 18+." And I just know that that's a ridiculous rating because it's literally comics.
Bill Stevens.
I think they're worried about traditional families, until someone in their family becomes non-traditional.
Well, my family's pretty religious and Jesus-y, so I remember I was the first person my sister really came out to. And she was all scared to tell the rest of the family because she thought they'd shun her.
I think they're worried about perhaps it's harder for gays to have families, so they're worried about the population.
And tell on her to God, I don't know. I get it though. But she told my mom and it was totally okay. I think she thinks it went well, if that makes sense.
I feel like conservatives think they have to stand for something. So obviously I have a very elderly mother and she's very conservative and she was not very accepting of my sexuality.
She seemed happy. My sister seemed happy. mom took us to get rainbow ices. So I think seeing queer culture become more normalized, it makes conservatives mad because they feel like they're losing.
And I think it's because she didn't realize that I could have a family and I could live in a beautiful home and I could have children and I could have everything that heterosexuals could have.
Some of them, the homophobic ones, that low-key, not all of them, misconception. Anyway, I'm turning this around. I think conservatives and queer people are kind of like pushing each other's views together. So, you know that saying, it's like, get with the future or get left behind? I feel like conservatives and queer people need to work together in order to, like, keep the love.
I think they need to realize that we're not threatening their livelihood.
I know it doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does.
We're just a part of it in a different way.
Cigar. We'll make a killing. We'll get top billing. I'm gonna make you a star. First, we'll improve a bit on Mother Nature. I got a doctor friend, you see. Imagination plus augmentation while I brand new me. To get to the big time, you need big time books. Shady accountant who can cook the books. A couple of well-placed friends, some dynamite 8x10s before you can reap those big time dividends. Before you know it, I was moving up there. Dom Perignon and caviar. A late night, yes sir, leads to good press sir, and takes a girl pretty far. So now my name's in lights above the title, or it's not on the dotted line. On the back lots now, I call the shots now. When there's a contract to sign, I'm up in a big time, so I make them wait. I'm up in a big time, so I'm always late. I tell them, oh, let's do lunch, then give them that 1-2 punch. I'm part of the big rock first class, big time bunch.
Big time! Big time game!
Up here in a big time, I've got big time friends who wanna make sure my big time never ends. My motto is I've got mine. I live on the bottom line. Up here in the 18, wet dream, big time. It's coming up roses and Barrymore noses, worth all the sweat, dear. Was it you bet? When you make